Hi there, and welcome to Copilot Lead Speak. I'm Sarah Young, and through this series, I have the pleasure of interviewing some of our leading figures in the AI security field. In today's video, I'm joined by Lynn and Arnav.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining me. So, before we go any further, tell us about who you are, what do you do, and what's your background?
Yeah, I'm Lynn. I'm a program manager here in the researcher incentives team in the Microsoft Security Response Center. So along with my team, I manage Microsoft's bug bounty program and our researcher recognition program. And so our mission is to incentivize high impact security research to help protect our customers. One of the coolest parts of my job is actually getting to use the partnerships that we have with our security researchers and these learnings from the reports that they submit to make long-lasting security improvements across the company beyond one-off bug fixes. So I've been here at Microsoft 4 years, a little over 4 years actually, and I first started working in or managing the external security conferences like Blue Hat, and then I've been in the bounty team for the last few years.
Awesome. How about you, Arnav?
Hi, I'm Arnav. I'm a security researcher at the Vulnerabilities and Mitigation team at MSRC. At a very broad level, part of my job is to analyze vulnerabilities in AI systems and Microsoft products to determine the severity, impact, and root cause of those vulnerabilities. And then some of the analysis that I do help guide the offensive and mitigative research that I do in this space. This honestly actually is one of the best parts of my job as well, because I get to look at real-world exploits in AI products and then think of novel strategies to help mitigate them. I've been in Microsoft for about 4 years now.
Awesome. Well, both of you have pretty interesting jobs, I have to say. Obviously, you're both involved with the Microsoft AI Bug Bounty Program, but can you tell me and our viewers here a little bit more about what that program is?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So the Microsoft AI Bug Bounty Program is one of our 15 or more than 15 programs that we've got across Microsoft's attack surface. So our Microsoft Bounty Program offers monetary awards to incentivize external security researchers to find and report high-impact vulnerabilities across our attack surface. And with these security vulnerabilities that are coming in, it gives Microsoft a chance to fix these security issues and protect our millions of customers. In 2023 alone, we awarded more than $13 million to over 340 security researchers across the globe. So being able to build and manage these relationships with the security researchers really helps to identify the customer threats and emerging technologies. And then we share these insights and patterns that we get from those reports with our engineering teams to drive security investments beyond these one-off bug fixes. So where the AI Bounty Program comes in here is it's focused on vulnerabilities and the AI-powered Bing experiences. So if you think of Bing.com or your Copilot experience in Microsoft Edge browser.
Nice. Now, I know, and just for our viewers, I know that the AI Bug Bounty Program is very new, isn't it? So it was October 2023?
Yeah. So it was launched in October 2023. We announced it at Microsoft's Blue Hat conference in 2023.
Yeah, I was there too, so I know. Awesome. So we've talked about what the AI Bug Bounty Program is, but can you tell me a little bit more about the history of how it all began?
Yeah, so we're constantly growing and evolving our bounty programs to really help Microsoft customers, stay ahead of the curve in this ever-changing, constantly changing security landscape and emerging technologies. So with the announcement of Bing Chat in early 2023, our first of what we now call our copilots, we knew this would be, this new and exciting and evolving security research space. So the AI Bounty Program comes as a result of some of our key investments throughout 2023, which include an AI security research challenge and an update and publication to Microsoft's vulnerability severity classification for AI systems, our AI bug bar.
That's really awesome, and I know we do so much work in this space generally. It's very exciting, but this is the new and cool bit, right, at the moment, right? So obviously, both of you have different positions at Microsoft, but they're both involved in the AI Bug Bounty Program. So can you share a little bit more about how you became involved and what you do? So Arnav, I let Lynn speak first last time, so let's start with you.
Yeah, so my team and Lynn's team, the Vulnerabilities and Mitigation team and the Research Incentives team, we work together quite often on a day-to-day basis So for example, my team helps assess cases that come in through our bug bounty program, and then we work with Lynn's team to strategize incentives on how we can make researchers focus on a specific area that we're really interested in. Our team work quite often to drive various security initiatives across Microsoft products. So for us, it was quite natural that we work on this new AI bug bounty program as well.
Makes sense. So how did we decide as Microsoft which sort of AI attacks and vulnerabilities were going to be included in the AI bug bounty program?
That's a really good question. So researchers in both the security community and in academia have been investigating vulnerabilities in AI systems for a long time now. So we decided to use some of their findings along with our own threat modeling and understanding our customer security needs to decide what vulnerabilities should be added to our program, along with just figuring out what vulnerabilities are the most impactful and are the most practical to exploit within our systems. That being said, research in this space is growing really, really quickly. So we're constantly learning about new vulnerabilities and updating our bug bar as we discover them. A quick example that I can think of is with the advent of these instruction-tuned large language models, there's this new attack path called prompt injection attacks. And when we added that to our AI bug bounty program, we saw that it quickly became one of the leading categories of vulnerabilities that we got as submissions through our program. So like I said, we're constantly learning and updating our bug bar as we discover new vulnerabilities.
So Arnav, you mentioned prompt injection attacks. Just for our audience, would you be able to tell us a little bit more about what they are, just in case there's someone who doesn't know?
Yeah, definitely. So very briefly, instruction-tuned large language models have something called a system prompt that defines the goal of what the model is supposed to do. A prompt injection attack is a way to misalign that goal to something that the attacker controls. So for example, you have a chatbot that uses a large language model, and the goal of the chatbot is to be really friendly. Now, there's some rules and some guidance given to the model to not say something that's offensive to a race, religion, political candidate, or a celebrity. The attacker can then use a prompt injection attack to make the model bypass those rules and regulations and say something that's not intended to say by the developers.
Yes, I think that's probably one of the most widely publicized attacks in the general media as well, right? Yes. But thank you for explaining in a little bit more detail.
Of course.
So can you tell us more about the kind of bugs that you're currently seeing submitted through the program? I know that this will change a lot because this is a very dynamic space, but at the time that we're recording this right now, what do you see the most of?
Yeah, so our Microsoft AI bounty program has bounty awards up to $15,000 across a number of different vulnerability types in our AI systems. So a couple of those main buckets that we've put them in are inference manipulation, model manipulation, and inferential information disclosure. And then I think, Arnav, since you see these cases every day, you could talk a little bit more to some examples that we've actually seen.
Well, before we get there, Arnav, would you be so kind as to explain for those of our viewers who aren't aware of what those types of vulnerabilities are, just very high level what they are, and then maybe you can give us some examples.
Yeah, of course, Sarah. And thanks, Lynn. So as Lynn mentioned, there are three major categories: inference manipulation. This category consists of vulnerabilities where you can make the model, you can manipulate the model's output in some way. So a common example would be in terms of image classification models. An attacker could provide a perturbed input or a malicious input that could make the model misclassify it with a different label, which could then bypass some security features. In the case of instruction-tuned large language models, as I mentioned before, prompt injection attacks are a class of vulnerabilities that fall into this category. The second one is model manipulation. So in model manipulation attacks, this category consists of vulnerabilities where you can manipulate the model during its training phase. One way a person could do that is by poisoning the data source the model uses in its training and fine-tuning. And we haven't seen many of these vulnerabilities submitted to us through our bounty program, but we're always very eager to learn more about them.
And if someone did do that poisoning, what would be the outcome of that if you did see it in real life?
So if you do find a way to poison the data source, you can potentially induce a backdoor into the model, which then could be used for furthering an exploit. And then that being said, the third category is inferential information disclosure. In this is a category of vulnerabilities where you could leak some information about the model. And this leak could range from information about the training data set the model uses, its architecture, its weights, or any inference time input data that's given to the model. A very prominent attack in this space is model stealing, and in the cases of large language models, it's prompt extraction attacks.
Okay. And with that particular class of vulnerability, have you seen many of those submitted yet?
Oh, definitely, yeah. So both the prompt injection attacks and prompt extraction attacks are one of the two main categories that we receive a lot of reports on through our bug bounty programs.
So I know that there are a lot of budding security researchers out there. Lots of people are wanting to get into this space, and particularly now into the AI space. So do you have any advice for anybody who wants to start looking at security research and maybe participating in bug bounties, particularly in the AI space?
Yeah, definitely. So as a first step, I would recommend everyone who's interested in this space to take a look at the MSRC AI bug bar. This bug bar is written by Andrew Parrott, who leads the MSRC's Vulnerabilities and Mitigations AI team, and he did an excellent job not only classifying or listing all the categories of vulnerabilities in this space, but also providing references to academic papers that people can go and refer to learn more about them. So definitely that's a really good place to start. Other than that, I would say I am a firm believer in learn by doing. So I would recommend any new researcher or enthusiast in this space to look out for AI-themed capture the flags, where you could practice these vulnerabilities in a safe and controlled environment, and then use those learnings in your own research somehow. Lynn, what do you think?
Yeah, I think those are some really great suggestions, and I've got a few more of my own to add on to that. The first would be looking at other AI security research that's already out there. So the vulnerability reports that security researchers have already been publishing, their findings, and I really think that's an opportunity where a current security researcher or someone who's looking to get in the industry can look and see what types of attacks are out there and what's been discovered already, and they could even see how those attacks patterns could be in their own research. So the second would be security conferences. Shameless plug here, but Microsoft's Blue Hat conference last year even had some really relevant talks on AI vulnerabilities, AI red teaming, and it's a really great opportunity to learn, how Microsoft is approaching some of those areas, and you can find them all on MSRC's YouTube channel. And then the third and final kind of recommendation I've got is books from AI security experts. So these are a great learning resource for really keeping up to speed of what's out there in industry right now. One of our colleagues even just published a book. It's called Not With a Bug, But With a Sticker.
I actually know that,
Yeah.
and I have read it. And in fact, on another episode of this series, we will be talking to one of the authors of that book as well. So what advice would you give to an organization who is thinking about using AI in their environment, of which I think at the moment there are many?
Yeah, so as we all know, AI is just a really amazing tool. One of the great things about AI is that it can analyze massive amount of data, and then we can use that analysis to make informed decisions. Even in our team, we use AI for a plethora of things, ranging from process improvements to chatbots to even as a tool by threat analysts to find anomalies in system log data. One of the things that I would recommend anyone using AI in their org is to know the limitations of AI. Knowing the strengths and weaknesses of AI would help guide where to use AI and where not to use them, and knowing the consequences of, in terms of vulnerabilities, what the consequences could be if you implement it incorrectly. So again, going back to the same example of instruction-tuned large language models, you have something called a system prompt that helps define the goal of that model. And then prompt engineering is a way to write those system prompts and then help scope that model to a specific task. But it's not a really good mitigation against prompt injection attacks. And knowing these limitations and knowing these limitations around AI systems would really help you build secure applications in your organization. Lynn, do you have any other suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, those are some really great points, and I definitely agree on the last bit there. But I also think AI has a lot of potential pros. Like I even use it to summarize meetings and, little things like that in your everyday work. But it is an ever evolving space. So from what we've seen so far with this bug bounty program, having this bug bounty program in place really helps us keep ahead of the curve in these emerging trends. And it really helps us to continue to strengthen the security posture of our AI systems. So I would definitely recommend other organizations looking to implement AI to have a bug bounty program in place. For us alone, like our global security researchers bring an incredible amount of creativity and talent to each and every report that they have. So that in itself helps us kind of stay ahead of the curve there.
So maybe not every organization is big enough to run their own bug bounty program. It can be quite resource consuming. If that was the case, what other suggestions would you have for them?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, like not every organization has a large enough staff or kind of team and resources to really have their own intake system for vulnerability reports. Microsoft is one of the ones that kind of does have that built up already. But there are other third-party platforms and vendors that other organizations can use. For example, there's Integrity, HackerOne, BugCrowd, Synack, just to name a few off the top of my head. And those are platforms where they'll intake the vulnerability reports, do that initial kind of triage for you before sending over those reports to you. So it kind of takes some of that resource load off of your own team.
That's a really great suggestion. And I actually know some of the people who work for some of those organizations, and they're great people as well.
Yeah.
So if folks have found this interesting and they want to learn more about the AI Bug Bounty Program and what MSRC does, where would you recommend they go?
Yeah, we've got a few different places that you can go to. The first is our program page on the Microsoft Bounty website, aka.ms/AI Bounty. And there you can learn the full details about our program scope and even our bounty awards. We've also got a couple social media links. You can follow us on the MSRC on X, formerly Twitter, and you can also follow our MSRC blog. So that'll help you keep up to date with our expansions and announcements as we continue to build out this program.
And also don't forget to check out the MSRC AI Bug Bar at aka.ms/AI Bug Bar.
Awesome. And if, just perchance, we have a security researcher out there who has a bug that they want to report, where do they send it?
Yeah, so you can submit a report through the MSRC researcher portal. The link there is aka.ms/secure-at. And there, the report will go straight to our MSRC team, and we'll take a look.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being here and taking the time.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for having us.
And thanks to all of you for joining this episode of Copilot Leet Speak. I hope you enjoyed our discussion about the Microsoft AI Bug Bounty and our AI security research. I'm Sarah Young, and until next time, take care.